What's going on, everybody? I hope you all are doing absolutely fantastic. What you see behind me is a UNS 6-gallon long that we are going to be turning into a Blackwater tank for some chili raspberries. Let's waste no time. This tank is an absolute mess right now. As you can see, I've been playing around with some concepts, but we have a lot of work to do, so let's get after it. So like I said earlier, this is the UNS 6-gallon long, and as you can see here, we're kind of playing around with some concepts. Obviously, we have a bunch of botanicals in here because this will be a Blackwater tank. So yeah, as you can see, we have some driftwood here. This is going to be a nice root feature, and then we're going to have some ferns sticking out of it. But yeah, this is overall what it's going to look like. So we have some botanicals in here. We have some nice tree roots in here. I forget the name of this wood. Maybe it's spider wood, like a really weird looking piece of spider wood. I'm not sure. And then right here we have Major. He's always in the background, so my apologies if you hear like squeaking or meowing in the background. But yeah, obviously this is a mess right now. It's still dirty from the last setup that we had in here. As many of you know, we did have the Peace Lily Paludarium that my short fin betta was in, and she's now in a different tank. Is we're just gonna tidy all of this up, get a clean slate, and this light here, I actually want to mount it to the wall. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Yes. That's not going anywhere. So this is the part where I take all these tools and I don't put them back in my toolbox. And then 2 weeks later, I'll get mad at someone else for not putting my tools away. But lo and behold, it'll be me who was being irresponsible. Pretty sweet. It's the full picture is starting to become clearer now that we have this mounted. Yeah, you know, anytime you're doing like a paludarium or a riparium where plants are sticking out of the water, when the light isn't attached to the tank, it really just increases, I don't know, it really just brings out the land feature more so. All right, the tank is all cleaned up. It's looking crystal clear for the most part. There's still some sand in the bottom and whatnot, but hey, this tank is about to get dirty anyway. This is going to be a detritus method tank, you know, with botanicals and everything. So, I mean, this is probably as clean as it's ever going to get, let's be real. Okay, so it's currently the next day. I've been sitting on this scape, you know, just for a little bit, just to make sure that I like everything before I lock everything in. What's going on, everybody? Before we get any further into the video, I want to share with you all the sponsor of my channel and a big supporter of this video specifically because we are building a Blackwater tank, and that is the homies over at Betta Botanicals. Betta Botanicals is your one-stop shop for all your botanical needs: catappa leaves, fern fronds, palm fronds, whatever you need to make your ecosystem look natural, and also add antifungal properties, as well as add tannins to your water to really replicate that natural environment that these fish come from. So the majority of the botanicals that you see in this video are actually coming from one product that Betta Botanicals sells, and that is the Betta Botanicals Variety Pack. And this is a great option if you're someone who's new to botanicals and you just want to explore the world of botanicals without spending too much money and just kind of see what works with your ecosystem and what doesn't. The Betta Botanicals Variety Pack is a great place to start. So if you're looking to create a natural looking ecosystem yourself, be sure to click on the link in the description below and use code WorldOfWasian15 at checkout, and you'll save yourself 15% off on your next ecosystem build. Back to the video. All right, so we have some UNS contra soil here. We're gonna put this in for starters as our nutrient layer, and we're actually gonna go really easy on this. So we will be having some stem plants in here, but it'll be very sparse, and yeah, we're just doing this to kind of just jumpstart things. I don't want like a carpet in here. That's not the goal. So yeah, we're just gonna add a little bit of aqua soil, and honestly, this right here should be enough. All right, before we get any further, we're gonna cut a piece of window frost for the back of the tank. Meant to do this earlier, totally forgot. All right, we're gonna turn this guy around. I want the UNS logo in the front. Gotta rep the homies. All right, squeegee the water out. All right, we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, so obviously we made a bit of a mess during that procedure. So let's go ahead and let's brush all of this aqua soil back. So right now I'm just spraying everything down just to get it nice and damp. This helps just, I don't know, alleviate air bubbles, and it just makes things easier. I'm not too worried about air pockets because this is going to be a rather shallow substrate bed, but yeah, this definitely helps. Alright, so for our sand cap, we're going to use sand from a company called Caribsea. This is like their supernatural aquascapes lineup of sand. It's super fine, it looks really nice. So yeah, let's go ahead and put some in. So the stuff that I'm using right now is actually pre-rinsed, and that's because I did take it from another tank, and it's just been sitting in a bin. So it's still a little damp, and hopefully there's still some beneficial bacteria in there. For the sake of just having a little bit more variety, we're going to throw some UNS Contra Sand Kona in there, just to kind of roughen up the terrain a little bit. And in addition, we have some Deep River rock pebbles that I found in my cabinet. I'm going to throw these in here as well. Now I'm just going to mix it all together just to make it look more natural. All right, time to add our centerpiece. Well, not really a centerpiece because it's not in the center, but our point of interest, if you will. So I really like the way this piece of driftwood looks. I knew the moment that I saw it what I wanted to use it for. I've actually been holding on to it for a really long time, but yeah, super happy to be finally using it. So as far as additional hardscape goes, we have a couple more river rocks that I want to add in there. Nothing too crazy. These are nice and small, and they're smooth, and they add a lot to the tank, but they're very slim and they won't obstruct the swimming path. So this tank is on the smaller side, and because of that, I'm trying my best not to use any hardscape that really obstructs the pathway of the fish that are swimming back and forth. Alrighty, so the escape has been finished and I'm fairly happy with it. As you can see, I went very light on the hardscape here, and this piece of driftwood here obviously was a root, you know, back when it was in nature. And I like it because it provides a lot of cover, but it doesn't obstruct the space over here. Like, you can still swim, and the fish in here can take advantage of the entire horizontal space here, which I thought was going to be pretty important. This is a smaller tank. It is a 6-gallon long, and I really like this dimension so long as you treat it right. And you know, you buy a 6-gallon long, you got to make sure that you keep that horizontal space, because Chile rasboras and rasboras in general are very reliant, or they prefer longer swimming space, horizontal swimming space, because they like to kind of explore left and right. So Yeah, that's something that people don't really seem to talk about a lot in the hobby is, yeah, size is important, but also I think the dimension is also important. Like I would rather have a 6 gallon long than a 8 gallon cube, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, that's important to mention. You know, it is a smaller tank, and we want to maximize the amount of horizontal swimming space that the Rasboras will have, but we also want to provide coverage for them. So now that the hardscape is all said and done, I'm gonna go ahead and start playing around with the botanicals, and I'm gonna kind of see where I want them to be. Now, normally I'd be planting things before I do this, but since this is a smaller tank, I want to be more strategic about where the botanicals are going to be so I don't end up smothering the plants. So for this build, since this is slightly smaller, I'm going to be using the smaller components from that variety pack. So we're going to be using the pygmy guava leaves, the jackfruit leaves, some of the coconut curls, and yeah, little bits and bobs of, you know, some pods, seed pods and whatnot. But yeah, this is looking really cool. Here we have a seed pod. This is awesome. This is my favorite. And last but not least, we have this beautiful piece of palm here. This palm branch here. And yeah, we'll just kind of slide that in there. And man, that looks awesome. I'm super excited about this. So there we have it. I have a good idea of where I want the botanicals to sit once the tank is all said and done. So with all this in mind, we can now plant accordingly, and I can see how the botanicals and the plants are going to kind of play off of each other. So yeah, let's get to planting. All right, everyone, so we went ahead and we put in some water here. This has been going for about a day now, and as you can see, I went ahead and dated it June 3rd. That is like day 1 of the ecosystem. Basically, as soon as water touches the tank, that is what I consider day 1 because things are now in motion. So, yeah, it's looking pretty cool. Obviously, all the botanicals are out with the exception of the palm leaf. Was kind of playing around, and yeah, as you can see, it looks pretty cool in there, and it's providing a lot of coverage, so that's awesome. Alright, so here we are at the immersed grow out bin. This is actually where I'm keeping my plants temporarily for this project. So as you can see, we have some dwarf hairgrass, and this stuff is going to look really cool. The plan is to put it in there and kind of like sparsely plant it, and I think it'll look really cool just having like these little tall strands of hairgrass growing out from under the different botanicals, you know, as it tries to reach the surface. And this will be a lower environment, or a low light environment, so this grass will try to grow taller. And in addition to that, we're going to have some cryptocoryne green wenti. This is a super cool plant, really nice foreground plant. I really love it. And yeah, we'll have these sparsely planted throughout in the front. And then obviously we have little nice pieces of Anubias nana that we're just going to fill in the cracks with. So yep, that's our plant lineup. So let's go ahead and get these ready. And yeah, we'll get them planted. So one more thing, forgot to mention, as you can see there's budding on the top of this. That's actually what it does when it's growing out of the water. Those are like little seed pods. So we're actually going to cut that off because those will die back underwater. Alright, so we have all the plants prepped. I tried my best to get as much rock wool out as I could. It was super stubborn. Yeah, we have everything sectioned out. And look how much crypt we got from one single pot. It's honestly crazy. So yeah, definitely super happy about that. And yeah, like I said, I went ahead and I cut off the tops where it was budding because it was going to melt anyway under the water. And I tried my best not to square it off. But yeah, and there's still some buds on here, which is honestly fine. I just didn't want to see all of the dwarf hairgrass melting all at once. So yeah, let's get to planting. Alright, so the idea here is to basically just have hairgrass growing around the rocks. Yeah, Yeah, and we're gonna have it somewhat sparsely planted. And now moving on here, we're just gonna go ahead and incorporate some of this cryptocorin Wente green here in the foreground. I think this is gonna look really cool. This will be tough to plant. The sand is pretty shallow, so basically I'm just gonna kind of wedge this under the rocks here, and it'll only grow around the rocks. Okay, so at this point we've made some pretty significant progress. What we're gonna do now is we're just gonna start filling this thing back up with water, and we're gonna start placing some botanicals in there. We'll get the palm leaf back in here, kind of move things around, see how it looks, and then we'll get the fern on top of the wood here. So once that happens, we'll be pretty much done, and after that we'll just kind of have to play the waiting game. So yeah, let's go ahead and finish up the hard part. Alright, so it's like roughly 30 days later. It's currently the 25th of July. We started this on like June 30th. And honestly, it's looking a little weird. But I think I know some things that we can improve. So I've sort of been neglecting this tank. I haven't really given a whole lot of thought, and I've just been kind of letting it do its thing. So as you can see, we have some detritus worms here, and this shot is very zoomed in, so sorry it's not the best quality, but this is pretty cool because that means the botanicals in here are actually starting to break down, and this is becoming a living and breathing ecosystem. And that's really the beauty of blackwater tanks, is it's not really necessarily supposed to be aesthetically pleasing, but rather a replica of nature and what we would normally see in a natural waterway. And that's what makes it really cool. Also, the crypt plants that we put in here are starting to spread like crazy. And yeah, this is a welcome surprise. I didn't expect them to grow this quickly, but here we are. As for the dwarf hairgrass in the back, it's actually kind of melting back. It's not doing too great, or at least it looks like it's not. There has been a lot of new growth, but you know, that's to be expected with dwarf hairgrass, especially in this kind of environment. So perhaps this was a wild card plant, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but we'll see. But that's what we're working with right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove some of the botanicals here. I'm going to move them around, but then I'm actually going to take some out, like this. Yeah, I'm going to take this guy out because I think some of the bigger pieces that are in here are subtracting from the scale of the plant, and I really want to accentuate just, I don't know, I don't want to overcrowd it, right? So smaller plants means smaller leaves, right? All right, so we are going to remove this hang on the back filter. This was a temporary solution to kind of just keep things flowing. But yeah, obviously it doesn't look that good on here, so we're going to go ahead and remove that. All right, so this right here is the Oase Biocompact internal filter, and I've used one of these before, and I actually really like it a lot, especially in this tank. And yeah, it's a lot cleaner. It's an internal filter, so it won't be as obstructive. And before we put it in, it comes with a activated carbon filter pad, which is pretty solid. However, for those of you who don't know, activated carbon actually removes tannins from the water. And since we want to do a deliberate blackwater tank, we don't want that. So we're going to take our filter, and I'm actually going to put in a piece of sponge filter. And as you can see, it's very dirty, and that is because it is from our hang on the back filter that we just took out. So yeah, it's an already established filter that's been running for about 30 days or so, and that'll help get this guy up and running a lot quicker. So yep, close it up and we'll go ahead and put it in. So that's looking a lot better in my opinion. We'll see how this goes. We might use a canister filter later on down the road, we'll see. I definitely think that I might have to clear this filter out a lot. Hair grass always looks really weird when you're trying to get it up and going, or especially when you're trimming it a lot, because it's always like squared off and it looks really stupid. But yeah, it'll grow back and it should start sending runners out. So what's next? As you can see, we're at our little land feature, so to speak, and we're going to be putting some rabbit's foot fern here on the wood here. Rabbit's foot fern is great for paludarium style stuff because of the way that its rhizomes are constructed. See how it's not just roots, it's like rhizomes and then it's a root. And these rhizomes are very robust, they're very solid, so they're extremely easy to mount onto things. So we're gonna glue all of these rhizomes for the rabbit's foot fern onto this piece of wood here, and then we'll put some sphagnum moss on the top of the rhizomes to keep it hydrated. And yeah, the rabbit's foot rhizomes will actually kind of sort of creep along the wood and it'll kind of just start to attach itself. The original plan was to have some silver lady tree fern on here, but that didn't really work out all that well because of just the way that the root system is constructed. Not that I couldn't get it to work. I don't know, man, this looks way better. Perhaps we'll find a way to put the silver lady tree fern in here, but it won't be like the centerpiece, it'll kind of just be in the background because it's a taller growing fern plant, and this one's a lot more dense, so I think this looks really good. And lastly, there's this tiny little notch here. I think that's a great natural looking place to put a fern, or where a fern will grow, should I say. So what's next is we have some sphagnum moss here, and it's already pre-soaked as you can see, and it's ready to go. And we are just going to kind of smother the rabbit's foot rhizome with this sphagnum moss, and this will just help keep the rhizomes nice and hydrated and prevent them from drying out. So let's go ahead and put that on there. We just kind of have to be very gentle, make sure we're not... There we go. That's working. I'm actually really happy with the way this is looking. It's looking a lot more like a proper ecosystem now, so that's really awesome. It was looking really weird before. I just didn't know. I was sitting on it for a while, and I just didn't... It was just very strange looking. I didn't know how to describe it, but this is looking a lot closer to what I had previously envisioned. Oh, this is looking a lot cooler. This is looking way better than it did like an hour ago. Hopefully you agree. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. Like, just be like, hey man, this is ugly. Or maybe don't do that. That might hurt my feelings. I don't know. Alright, so we're currently drip acclimating our rasbores. And yeah, while we're waiting, let me just kind of show you around. Just kind of go freehand here so you can see what's going on. The Crypt Wentii green is actually spreading a lot, and that's super cool. I didn't expect this plant to propagate itself as fast as it is right now at the moment. And yeah, as you can see, the botanicals in here are really making way for themselves. They're starting to break down, but yeah, there's a catappa leaf back there that's starting to break down, and it's showing more of the skeletal structure of it. And yeah, this tank is looking more natural every day. Well everyone, I think it's finally time to start wrapping up this video. As you can see, we did quite a bit here. This is a 6-gallon long, shallow, botanical method chili raspberry ecosystem aquascape. And yeah, it was a fairly involved project. There's a lot going on in here, and it was a lot of fun. And again, I just want to give a big thanks to Betta Botanicals for really helping out with the channel and helping provide the resources to help make cool projects like this one. But with all that being said, there's actually a lot more that I want to do with this tank, so be sure to stay tuned, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.